I'm going to do some exit velocity stuff this week, and I thought it would be fun to dig out some old footage of Bryce Harper back when he was an amateur. This was the day before. This was actually the Power Showcase where he went off at Tropicana in that home run derby. This is the day before at the Yankees complex, and I took video and exit speeds off the tee of every player at the event. Bryce didn't have the very top, although with wood bats he was in the top 3. But there were a couple of kids that ended up at 103. This was his top out at 96. To me, I really like the number of exit speed off the tee, and the reason is because there's no help from the pitch whatsoever. So this is all about a raw power number that is what he can produce and has nothing to do with what goes on with a live pitch. So I want to know this number. It's not the end all for sure, but it is definitely one piece of the puzzle. The other piece of the puzzle is what the average exit speed is off the tee, because that's going to tell me a lot about some different elements. What's the ability to get the barrel to the center of the ball? What's the launch angle coming off of that? Is there a big discrepancy between his top out and his average? So there's a lot of things that I want to learn from a T-swing. But there's some major factors too about being able to compare one swing to the next. Because if one swing has a certain movement that is different from one of the ones that produces more exit speed, then that's one of the things that we can contribute or say contributes to or takes away from what his overall exit speed is. Now this was the very next day. You'll see an exit speed. This was my radar equipment that they're using for this event. But I think it's pretty safe to say that there's a little bit difference. There's a few differences in this swing, which is basically a little more than a normal BP swing because the whole world is watching. But at the end of the day, it really is a batting practice swing. I think the stride is wider, maybe a little more anxious, but the lower half is still very efficient. The backside's releasing, the front side's locking out. There's all kinds of good stuff going on in the swing, obviously, because this thing ends up in the catwalk at Tropicana. But what you'll notice is that there is definitely some movements that are slightly different in that swing versus the T-swing. And then if we look even further ahead, obviously he's got a few reps under his belt, both in the gym and swinging the bat at this point. But there's some very big differences in the upper body, especially with the way that he swings the bat now versus then. So that's one of the things that I think is really important about exit speed, is it allows us to compare one movement to the next movement. I want to always look at his very best bolt, though. If I'm going to look at a swing and try to analyze it, I want to make sure that I see the one that's the very best. And that's one of the reasons why exit velocity is such a big deal. And it's why I started with it way back in the early 90s and have been doing that ever since. This is his very best bolt. This was from a piece that Carlos Pena did on MLB Network, and this is a 481-foot bomb. So if I'm going to look at any one swing, this is going to be the swing that I want to look at to compare to all the rest of them, because this is the one that produced the most. So whatever movement patterns are going on in this swing, that's what I want to identify. So if we compare this swing to what we see with the 88 mile an hour T-swing or even the 96 mile an hour T-swing, we're going to see some things that are a little bit different. Now, this is not a mechanical discussion right now. It's more about what the value of exit velocity has been and what a big deal it's going to be in the coming days of baseball. It's the one number. It's the most important number when it comes to offensive production and pitching, because if pitching is deceptive, then it controls this number. If a hitter is timing a pitch, if he's mechanically efficient, then he's producing more of this number. So this is the number one number when it comes to offense, and it's the number one number when it comes to controlling offense.